Texas has spent years telling retirees to pack up and come south. No state income tax, warm weather, affordable living, room to breathe, and millions of people believed it. But something happened. Property taxes quietly became some of the highest in the entire country. Insurance premiums doubled, sometimes tripled, almost overnight. And the cities that once promised retirement paradise are now squeezing the very people who moved there to escape exactly this. We looked at 9 Texas cities. What we found will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about retiring in the Lone Star State. Here is the number that changes everything. Texas has no state income tax. That part is still true. But Texas makes up for it in ways most people never see coming. And by the time they do, they are already locked into a mortgage. Property tax rates in Texas average around 1.7 to 2.1% of a home's assessed value every single year. On a $400,000 home, that is $7,000 to $8,400 leaving your account annually. On fixed retirement income, that is not a line item. That is a crisis waiting to happen. And then there is insurance. After a series of devastating storms, floods, and wildfires, homeowners insurance in Texas has become one of the most expensive in the nation. Some retirees are reporting annual premiums that have jumped from $2,000 to over $5,000, with no end in sight. Add skyrocketing home prices, rising HOA fees, and a cost of living that quietly crept toward the national average, and the Texas retirement dream starts to look very different on paper. These are 9 cities where that math is breaking down the fastest. Number 9, we start with the obvious one. Because even though everyone knows Austin is expensive, most people still do not understand just how far gone it is for retirees. The median home price in Austin is now hovering around $550,000. For context, that number was around $300,000 in 2019. In 6 years, it nearly doubled. And property taxes on a $550,000 home in Travis County can run $10,000 to $12,000 per year. That is roughly $900 a month, before your mortgage, before utilities, before groceries. The Austin we knew, quirky, affordable college town weird, has been replaced by a tech-driven city where the median household income needed to comfortably live here keeps climbing past what most retirees bring home. The good news is that some price correction has begun. Values have softened. But the damage is already done for the retirees who bought at peak and are now holding a depreciating asset with a tax bill that refuses to go down as fast as their equity did. Austin is not impossible for retirees. But unless you are bringing serious savings, the math is working against you every single month. Number 8. Frisco. Frisco looked like the answer for about a decade. New construction everywhere. Top-ranked schools, which matters even for retirees because it drives resale value. Safe neighborhoods. Easy access to Dallas. But Frisco became a victim of its own success. Median home prices now sit above $600,000. Property taxes in Collin County, where Frisco sits, are among the highest in the state, regularly running between 2.1 and 2.5%. Do that math on a $600,000 home and you are looking at $12,500 to $15,000 a year in property taxes alone. For a retiree on Social Security and a pension, that single bill can consume a quarter of annual income. There is also a subtler problem in Frisco that nobody talks about. The city was built for young families. The demographics are skewed young. The amenities are built around kids, sports leagues, and school events. Retirees who moved here expecting a vibrant community of their peers often find themselves surrounded by activity that was never designed for them. Frisco is a genuinely great city in many ways. But great for retirees in their 30s, not their 70s. Number 7. The Woodlands. The Woodlands sits north of Houston, and for years it carried a reputation as one of the best-planned communities in the entire country. And honestly, it earned that reputation. Beautiful tree-lined streets. Excellent health care. A real town center. Quiet and safe. But that reputation came with a price tag. And the price tag keeps growing. Median home values in the Woodlands are now between $450,000 and $600,000 depending on the section. Combined with Montgomery County property tax rates, annual tax bills can reach $10,000 to $14,000. And here is the part that stings specifically for retirees. The Woodlands sits in Harris and Montgomery counties, both of which have experienced repeated flooding events tied to Houston area storms. After Hurricane Harvey, homeowners' insurance in this corridor became noticeably more expensive and noticeably harder to get. Some residents report being dropped by major carriers entirely and forced onto the state's insurer of last resort, which covers less and costs more. A beautiful community with a complicated and expensive insurance reality underneath. That combination makes the Woodlands a place retirees love, until the bills arrive. If you are researching where to retire in Texas, you are going to want to see every city on this list. Subscribe right now and make sure you never miss a breakdown like this one. We cover the real numbers, not the marketing brochure. Plano built its identity on corporate relocations and affluent suburbs. It worked. The city is safe, well-funded, and has excellent infrastructure. But Plano is now squarely in the upper tier of Texas living costs. Median home prices have crossed $450,000, and property tax rates in Collin County push annual bills into the $9,000 to $11,000 range for a typical retirement age home. There is also a density problem that does not show up in real estate listings. Plano is not a quiet retreat. It is a dense, busy corporate suburb with traffic that rivals many major metros during rush hour. For retirees who imagine peaceful Texas living, the reality of Plano at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday is a different experience entirely. The city does have genuine strengths, excellent medical access, diverse restaurants, strong services. But the combination of high property taxes, high home prices, and suburban intensity has made Plano one of the less obvious but very real affordability traps for retirees in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Number 5. Round Rock. Round Rock was supposed to be the smart move for people priced out of Austin. Close enough to benefit from Austin's economy. Far enough to stay affordable. That window closed faster than almost anyone predicted. Dell Technologies built its headquarters here decades ago. That foundation attracted more businesses, more workers, more demand. And then Austin's pandemic boom spilled directly north into Round Rock like a flood that nobody could contain. Median home prices jumped from around $280,000 to over $420,000 in just a few years. Property taxes in Williamson County can push annual bills on those homes past $8,000 to $9,000. Round Rock also sits in the crosshairs of Texas growth corridors, meaning traffic, construction, and noise are not temporary inconveniences. They are permanent features of a city that is still expanding at a pace faster than its infrastructure can absorb. Retirees who came here for quiet and affordability are finding neither. The proximity to Austin was the selling point. The proximity to Austin is now the problem. Drop a comment right now and tell me, are you currently in Texas, thinking about moving there, or has this video already changed your thinking? The comments on these videos are genuinely one of the best places on the internet to get real information from real people who are living through exactly what we are describing. I read every single one. San Antonio surprises people on this list. Because the narrative around San Antonio has always been that it is the affordable Texas city. The one that escaped the pricing spiral that swallowed Austin and Dallas. And compared to those cities, yes, San Antonio is still more accessible. But more accessible than Austin, and affordable for retirees on fixed income, are two very different things. Median home prices in San Antonio now sit between $280,000 and $350,000 for most of the metro. That sounds manageable. But Bexar County property tax rates are running 2.0 to 2.5%, meaning a $300,000 home carries an annual tax bill of $6,000 to $7,500. On a typical Social Security benefit of around $1,800 per month, which is what many Americans actually receive, that tax bill alone consumes over a third of annual income. San Antonio also has a homeowner's insurance problem that rarely gets covered. The city sits in a corridor prone to severe hailstorms and flooding. Insurance premiums have risen sharply across Bexar County in recent years. Retirees who budgeted carefully when they bought a home 5 years ago are finding that their insurance premium has quietly doubled since then. San Antonio is not broken. But the gap between its reputation for affordability and the current reality is wider than most people realize before they sign the paperwork. Number 3. Georgetown. Georgetown is worth talking about separately from the rest of this list because it was specifically marketed to retirees. Sun City, Georgetown, one of the largest active adult communities in the country, brought tens of thousands of retirees to this small city north of Austin. And for years, it genuinely delivered on the promise. But Georgetown's proximity to Austin's growth corridor has triggered exactly the kind of price appreciation that makes retirement math difficult. Home prices in Georgetown have risen dramatically. Even in the age-restricted communities, properties that were purchased for $200,000 to $250,000 a decade ago are now listed for $380,000 to $450,000. Meaning new retirees entering the market are buying at a much higher baseline. Property taxes in Williamson County apply to these communities just like anywhere else. And here is the part that catches people off guard. HOA fees and community fees inside age-restricted developments like Sun City can add another $150 to $250 per month on top of everything else. Georgetown was designed for retirees. But the cost of living inside that design has risen faster than the fixed incomes of the people it was designed for. The irony is painful. And it is happening right now to real people who did everything right. Number 2. Fort Worth. Fort Worth has been in the shadow of Dallas for most of its modern history. Quieter. More affordable. A little more Texan in the traditional sense. But the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex has grown so aggressively that Fort Worth no longer exists in that shadow. It has been pulled into the same economic orbit, with costs that are increasingly following Dallas upward. Median home prices in Fort Worth have crossed $320,000 to $380,000 in most desirable areas. Tarrant County property tax rates are competitive with other North Texas counties, meaning bills in the $7,000 to $9,000 annual range on a typical retirement age home. The issue for retirees specifically is that Fort Worth's growth is concentrated in ways that make traditional retirement neighborhoods harder to find. Western expansion toward Benbrook and Weatherford is pushing prices in formerly quiet areas. And the character of neighborhoods that retirees chose specifically for their pace and quiet is changing as younger families and investors follow the growth. Fort Worth is not a disaster. But it is no longer the quiet, affordable Texas alternative it was marketed as even 5 or 6 years ago. The gap closed faster than anyone expected. If this video has given you something to think about, hit the like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who are trying to make one of the most important financial decisions of their lives. One click from you puts this in front of someone who needs it. Number 1. Dallas. Dallas is number 1 on this list not because it is the worst city to retire in Texas. It is number 1 because it carries the most dangerous combination of factors, and because the gap between its reputation and its reality for retirees is the widest of any city we have covered. The median home price in Dallas proper and its inner suburbs now ranges from $380,000 to well over $500,000 in the most desirable areas. Property taxes across Dallas County run between 2.0 and 2.4% annually. On a $450,000 home, that is $9,000 to $10,800 every year. Every year, for as long as you own that house. And unlike income, property taxes do not pause when markets soften. They adjust slowly. In many cases, they stayed elevated even as home values began to cool in 2023 and 2024. Homeowners insurance in the Dallas area has been hit hard by a series of severe weather events. Hail, ice storms, tornadoes, and extreme heat all contribute to a market where insurers have raised rates aggressively. Some Dallas area homeowners are reporting insurance premiums that have increased by 40 to 60% in 3 years. For a retiree on fixed income, that is not an inconvenience. That is a forced decision about whether to stay or go. Dallas also has a quality of life calculation that rarely gets discussed in retirement guides. It is a large, dense, traffic-heavy metro. Getting around without a car is extremely difficult. Healthcare is excellent but can be far from suburban neighborhoods. The summer heat, months of temperatures over 100 degrees, creates real physical and financial strain. Dallas rewards people who arrive with capital and flexibility. It punishes people who arrive on fixed income with a tight budget and limited mobility. And that description fits a very large percentage of American retirees. Here is what all 9 of these cities share. They were all, at some point in the recent past, genuinely good options for retirees. Lower prices. Lower taxes. Lower costs. Texas earned its reputation as an affordable retirement destination. The problem is that reputation is now running about 5 to 10 years behind reality. The The state has no income tax. That is still true and still meaningful. But property taxes, insurance, and a cost of living that has converged toward the national average have quietly erased a significant portion of that advantage. The retirees who are struggling most are not the ones who made bad decisions. They are the ones who made perfectly reasonable decisions based on information that was accurate when they made it, and then watched the ground shift underneath them. Texas is still a viable retirement destination, but it requires a level of financial research and preparation that the marketing never mentions. Before you move, run the actual numbers. Not the statewide averages, the city-specific, neighborhood-specific, tax bill-specific numbers. Because in Texas right now, the difference between a comfortable retirement and a financially stressed one often comes down to which city you chose and what year you bought. So let me ask you this. Is Texas still on your retirement list? Or did one of these cities just fall off it? Let me know in the comments. Because the conversation happening down there is more valuable than anything I can tell you in this script.